Today's episode of the Goldcast is sponsored by the greatest Thursday night football game of all time, the most points scored ever between the Niners and the Rams, and just an overall frustrating but really good game. That's what this one's sponsored by. Raymond, before we get started, why don't you let them know, where can they find us?
You can like us at facebook.com/thegoldcast. You can also follow us on Twitter at @thegoldcast_, as well as Instagram at @thegoldcast. You should also subscribe to us via iTunes, YouTube, and Stitcher, all under the same name of The Goldcast. Subscribe. Make sure to subscribe on the latter three applications. That way you get notifications when we go live with our brand new episodes, such as this one.
Okay, here we go. So we're going to get into it. We have the biggest Rams fan in the house. We'll be back. We're going to talk. We're hot off the presses. It's Thursday night, 9:11 p.m. Pacific time. Rams at 49ers has just ended, 39-41. Frustrating, but also a really great game. Niners showed a lot of both teams showed where the future of the NFC West lies. So we're going to drop the music. Let's get into it. Here we go. Goldcast. Do it.
San Francisco, are you ready? This is the Goldcast.
Boom! Welcome to another edition of the Goldcast. We are the voice of the faithful. I'm your host, Rudy Solis III, and with me is my brother, my co-host,
Raymond Solis the first, baby.
And our Los Angeles co-host,
Lewie B.
Boom! All right, here we go. Final score, 41-39 in favor of the Los Angeles Rams. A lot of people were really down on this game, and it was pissing me off because, honestly, we're going to get into it in a second, but a lot of people were down on this game. A lot of people were bashing it. They were already saying this was going to be a stinker. This was going to be a terrible game. I mean, everyone was ready to throw the torches at this game. But 49er faithful, Los Angeles Ram heads fan guys, I'm not sure what you're going to call Ram people. We actually knew we knew that this game had the potential to be what it ended up being, which was a barn burner. Welcome to the Goldcast. If you're listening to this, you are part of the 49er faithful. You're part of the Goldcast Nation. You're here because this is one of the greatest dynasties of all time. 5 championship rings. Proud owner of one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Arguably the greatest, the only perfect quarterback in the Super Bowl, Joe Montana. The greatest wide receiver of all time, the Michael Jordan of wide receivers, Jerry Rice. Ronnie Lott, one of the hardest hitters in the game. Concussions, you're welcome. That's a gift from him.
The greatest mobile quarterback of all time.
Greatest mobile quarterback of all time. And if you're here, this is the history that you're a part of. Welcome to the Goldcast. All right, here we go, gents. Whew, what a game. God damn it, I'm pissed.
Nail biter.
To the end. It was 46-21. Lewie B and I are sitting here in Los Angeles, Raymond, and we're watching the game side by side. Raymond and I are getting trolled by Raiders fans in Oakland via text message. Lewie and I are sitting there. It's 46-21 with 8 minutes left to go. And Louie's pretty calm. I'm like on pins and needles. I really, truly believed even at that moment, I said, we need a touchdown and we need to get a turnover. And after we got that touchdown to go 33-41, I told Lewie, I said, we just need a turnover right here. Turnover, and we get it. And then instead of the turnover, we get the onside kick. When the fuck does that ever happen? That never happens. And
You did get a turnover.
No.
We got a turnover and we got an onside kick.
Yeah, the fumble on the fucking
Yeah,
kick
we got the
return.
turnover. That's right. I'm
Pardon
sorry.
my language.
Yeah, the fumble. No, it's okay. You can cuss on the Goldcast. we get the fumble, right? It looks like we're going for 2, which we have to go for. We have to go for 2 because we missed that extra point. How on earth? Right when we missed it, I remember we were sitting here. We had a friend here who works over at ESPN. She'll be on in a couple weeks, but we had a friend here from ESPN. She goes, "That's gonna come back to haunt you." And I was like, "I know." Right when we missed that extra point, I was like, "This is coming back to haunt us." But we come back. We get the onside kick. you got to give it up to Aaron Donald and that Rabs defense. I mean, you guys literally didn't allow anything. We had the one catch at pass. It was a first down. It was about a 12-yard catch, and they call it offensive PI, offensive pass interference. And
they only gave us one angle, and I
didn't
necessarily see it on my end.
Neither did we.
It looked pretty standard. Yeah, it looked pretty standard from that angle. I'm not really sure. Either way, I think the pick six, the first play of the game, was the dagger. We were literally in the red for the rest of the game. But Raymond, let's go to you, and then Louie. Then we'll let Louie close out with his thoughts. But Ray, let's start with you first. Thoughts on the game? What did you see? How are you feeling? Boom.
It's a heartbreaker because I really thought that they were going to win. Well, actually, at first, I thought that they were going to win before the game even started because it just felt like we were due for a win, especially with the close effort that we came to against the Seahawks. But once we started off with the near pick six, I was starting to get frustrated pretty early on. But then when I saw the team kind of hang in there, but then the score kept getting away from us, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a blowout. I was like, if we can just at least make it close, we can get some sort of dignity out of this, I think I'll feel a little bit better, which I did. But then when we got within literally 2 points, I was on the edge of my seat, and it was super exciting. The defense clearly has no depth. So when you lose one or two starters, which in the beginning of the game, we didn't have Eric Reed, we didn't have Foster, and that proved to create a huge liability in the second and third level of the defense as Todd Gurley just kind of had his way. Well over 100 yards, 2 touchdowns early in the 3 in the first quarter alone, was it? Is that correct? And so...
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, and that proved to be a huge difference maker because we couldn't stop the run and force Jared Goff to kind of beat us with his arm. So their run kept setting up all their pass plays and their play actions. And we just had Rashard Robinson and Dante Johnson were huge liabilities pretty much the entire game. Again, no sacks on Jared Goff and no Aaron Lynch. So coincidentally, when we have Aaron Lynch in the game, we had 3 sacks last game. No Aaron Lynch in the game against Carolina. He was injured. We had 0 sacks. No Aaron Lynch today, 0 sacks. So clearly, Aaron Lynch is a huge, huge difference maker on that line. Without him, we don't really have any definitive pass rusher because our 3 first-round pick defensive linemen just haven't really come into their own yet. Eric Armstead's he's the leader of the 3 of them in terms of skill and kind of getting to that level. I'd say Buckner's right behind him, and Thomas is catching up pretty fast. But again, they're still not elite guys. They do provide a lot of good run stoppage ability, but without any second tier or third tier star players in Eric Reed or Reuben Foster, we just have a lot of holes to fill that our depth can't pick up the slack for. So I saw a lot of problems in that, but the offense finally woke up. Usually takes several games for teams to, especially a team that's this young, to really kind of start to break out of its shell. And today, that was the first time we saw that. The previous 2 games, we saw the defense do that, and today we saw the defense take a step back, mainly because we don't have depth and we have injuries now. And so, but it was nice to see the offense kind of wake up. Still a heartbreaker.
Absolutely. Still a heartbreaker. I definitely thought the loss of Eric Reed, Tart, not having Reuben Foster still in there, like you said, we don't have depth. I thought they did a great job of actually. I thought in the first half, I thought we were doing a decent job of stopping Gurley, and I felt like they were actually kind of using the pass to set up the run. But you're the greatest analyst in the game, so I'm always going to refer back to you on that. All right, Lewie B, welcome back to the Goldcast. It's your fucking turn. Let's go.
You're damn right, it's my turn, baby. All right, hey, first of all, welcome. Thanks for welcoming me back, Goldcast. I'm really happy to be here. My voice is non-existent because I've been shouting and ruining Rudy's neighbors' lives the entire night because that game was intense. The game was super intense near the end. I was not ready for that comeback. My psyche wasn't ready for it. I'm exhausted now, so that was great. But it was an unbelievable game. I thought the Niners and the Rams both showed what the future of this division is going to be as far as Rudy and I believe. Not this year, and maybe next year, depending on what happens with your guys' quarterback situation. But I think it's going to be Shanahan, McVay in the NFC West duking it out for a long time to come. We have we got third year back in Gurley, who is obviously showing who he was as a rookie, was not a fluke. We have Goff in his second year, who's shown tremendous progression because everyone left him for dead. They gave him 7 games under Jeff Fisher, and everyone thought this was the biggest bust. And I was the only one like, dude, he was the quarterback for Jeff Fisher. Like, the Jeff Fisher offense is the offense from 1993 when they were running it 30 times a game. They'd throw it 15. Like, they had no offense. They had no offensive playbook. They had nothing. So I'm so stoked to see Goff under McVay. He looks competent. He looks confident. His mobility outside the pocket's gotten so good. He keeps his eyes downfield. He's passing all the eye tests. And I told Rudy, I don't need 10 wins and 40 touchdowns to prove to me that he's worth our first round pick this year. I just show that you're a confident starting NFL quarterback. Show that what you weren't last year. And that's all I'm looking for. I think he showed that tonight against a bitter rival, a team that I really, really, really wanted to beat. So I'm really happy we got the dub over you guys. Sorry, Faithful Nation. But it was an unbelievable game, man. I mean, you guys came back. Niners fought tooth and nail till the end, man. I mean, that was an amazing game. So, but I think both sides showed a lot of future promise, man. Absolutely.
I agree. I think that the 49ers and the Rams showed future promise, and I've said this a couple times, and I'm going to say it again, that the 49ers and the Rams 100% are the future of the NFC West, and we are already beginning. Tonight was a preview of where this is going to go and what we're going to see. That's pretty exciting. I think it's pretty exciting that we are looking at the future of the NFC West. Having said that, let's talk a little bit about that. It's a tale of two halves, I feel, with Brian Hoyer, Raymond. And Louie, I want your input on this too. We talked a lot about this, Louie and I. Quarterbacking is the hardest position in the sport of football. No question. I mean, you've got competent guards in the NBA. There's too many of them. You've got pitchers that can throw 100 miles per hour fastballs. They're all over the place. There's 10 of them sitting in the minors waiting for a chance to go up. But finding a competent quarterback, I mean, there's like 10 guys that can do it and then 20 that can't. I just can't believe how bad this is. And there's this big debate going on right now in all sports. In all football, is it that we really don't have that many competent quarterbacks, or we have a lot of really crappy offensive lines? And so, I think there's a little bit of both there, and I don't want to get into that argument, but it's definitely a tale of two halves. What did I say, Raymond? We were going to have this Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde up and down thing with Brian Hoyer. There's going to be times when it looks brilliant, times when it looks terrible. I've been saying this since preseason. And that first half, he opens with that pick six, and I thought, man, I don't even know if this guy's going to make it through this game. Like, I think by next week he's going to be benched. And then in the second half, really comes back, really finds Pierre Garçon and begins connecting with him all over the field. What are your thoughts about Brian Hoyer? I mean, beyond Brian Hoyer, sometimes I can't tell where the problem is because we have so many – our wide receivers drop so many good passes, and then when they're not dropping good passes, he's throwing really bad passes. So where are the problems with the offense? What do you see – Ray, you're the greatest analyst in the game. And then, Louie, I want to hear what you think after what you saw from the 49ers. But let's get into this real quick, Ray. What did you see?
I saw Hoyer, who kind of has been shaky all 3 games with like little flashes here and there, and a combination of poor pass protection, also just poor throwing. He's looked like Blaine Gabbert up to this point. But after the the near pick six in the first play of the game, I saw Brian Hoyer finally settle down. I think he needed a kick in the ass. He needed to get pushed against the ropes and to wake up, and he did, because after that play alone, he really played and hung there with Jared Goff, and statistically did better than Jared Goff outside of the pick. Goff had one more touchdown, but he threw for more yardage, and completion percentages were pretty comparable between both. If you add in the drops, it looks a lot better. But I thought both quarterbacks played really well. Goff looked like a pro out there. I was surprised at how well he played. But again, if you give if you give a quarterback time, any quarterback, regardless of what stage they're at in their maturation, they're going to look like a Tom Brady every single time. And without any sacks, there really wasn't all that much of a pass rush, I felt. So it was very, it's a no-brainer that Goff played as well as he did, because if you give him pass protection like that, game in and game out, he's going to have games like that. Every quarterback will. Brian Hoyer settled down. We got better pass protection, even in the rushes. He stayed in the pocket, took some licks, made good throws. He played great. I mean, when this is a quarterback that, in my opinion, has better vision and gets through his progressions better than Colin Kaepernick and Blaine Gabbert. So this was the Brian Hoyer I was hoping to see, and this is what I got. But unfortunately, the early mistakes and then little inch mistakes like that. So this is where I think the Niners are. The Niners are at a position where now we can compete. Now we have a competent offense, but we're still not good enough to overcome self-inflicted wounds and overcome teams that are more polished. And on the Rams side, I think you guys are a little bit further in your maturation because Sean McVay inherited more stars and more depth than Kyle Shanahan did with the Niners. And as a result, you guys are at a stage where I think, and Lewie B, you can tell me whether I'm right or wrong here, but I think you guys are at a stage where you're good enough to beat teams that are under 500, but you're probably going to struggle against teams that are over 500. And we already saw one example of that in Washington last week. We'll see how you guys do against Dallas going forward.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that I will say, a lot of those, Sean McVay didn't necessarily inherit that team. I think Sean McVay was behind a lot of those moves. Sean McVay was the one that went after Cooper Kupp and Gerald Everett. Sean McVay was the one that came out from day one and said, I want to get Todd Gurley involved immediately and often. Obviously he did inherit Goff and he did inherit Gurley. But Watkins, Woods, Kupp, Everett, none of those guys were on this team before McVay got there. McVay was the mind behind those picks. Les Snead doesn't know what the fuck he's doing.
Right, but your defense has been great for several years now, but the offense has been kind of subpar.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of a hybrid where he inherited
the
then he patched up where he thought they needed improvements, and then you added Wade Phillips as a defensive coordinator to kind of keep things going on the defensive side.
Exactly. So you're right. I'm sorry. Yeah, I might have misheard what you were saying. Yeah, absolutely. I think that he inherited a potential top 10 D for sure, and we've shown that. I mean, then again, our rushing defense is close to last in the league, which is super weird because we have a much better front seven than we do secondary. But our passing defense has actually not been too bad this year. But it's all our rushing defense that's bad. But yeah, they inherited a lot of stars in defense. But then again, I mean, like I said, Sean McVay's first move was to bring in Wade Phillips. They hired Sean McVay, and then 3 days later brought in Wade Phillips. Like he deserves the credit that I think that he's going to get for this 2-1 start. But no, I think absolutely he inherited a better situation than Shanahan did. There's no doubt. We had more depth, especially on defense. We had more depth. We also had a better foundation. We had, this kid Goff with Gurley, and that's a tandem that I was so excited to watch this year, and they're proven to be an exciting tandem. And you see last week, you bring up Washington. They were 2 boneheaded Robert Woods penalties away from leading a tying or a game-winning drive in that game against Washington. Robert Woods, I mean, he came out this week and bossed out, so I can't give him too much shit. But he last week he had 2 penalties in the fourth quarter on the potential game-winning drive that lost us the game, and that was so. It wasn't like we were, oh man, like we're the typical Rams, we're just beating bad teams. Like we could have beaten Washington, and then we beat the team that we should have beat week 1 against Indy. We beat you guys, who is a bitter rival, and we always have a hard time against you guys. We're on the right track. You know what I mean? We're not looking at a 10-win season, but we're on the right track. I think we're doing exactly what we need to do. They're feeding Gurley as much as they should be. Goff is looking calm. He's looking cool in the pocket. He's had 1 pick through 3 games. He had 7 last year through 7 games, so he's already on such a good track. I'm excited, man. The O-line has been blocking. They've been stepping it up compared to last year. We had one of the worst lines in the league, so anything is a step up. So yeah, I really can't say much, man. I agree with what you're saying for sure. He definitely inherited a better situation for sure, but they're proving that,
Yeah, they're
Rudy and I think that the NFC West is going to be the inverse of what it is now, 2-3 years from now.
Agreed. 100% agreed. AZ's on the way out, and Seattle's unless Seattle shows up their line, they don't have anything.
Hey, Seattle, here's the great part, though. The best part about that team, no matter what, is they have no chemistry. Those guys fucking hate each other. I love it. They
Seems like
hate
it.
each other. Man, that defense hates that offense, and that offense wants to be loved by them, but the defense hates them. The defense, it's like they're like neighbors, and the defense just wishes that the offense would just mow the lawn and keep the front of their two homes clean, and they're always dirtying it up, and then the offense just can never do it good enough for the defense. They're just like two neighbors that one hates the other one, and then the offense wants to be loved by the defense. It goes, I just wish we'd get along. And they go, well, if you weren't such an idiot, I'd like you, but you're a dick. And so they move on. I love it. I love how much
That's
they
the
hate each
single.
other.
That's the
best
single
part
most
of those two
greatest analogy I've ever heard in my life for an offensive defensive split. That's amazing.
Right? It's two houses that share one lawn. They share one lawn. They're right next to each other, and the defense is like, I mowed this side of the lawn every week. Why can you not do the same thing? Why can't you just not show? Why do you not show me the same respect? We literally share the same lawn. That's all you got to do. You got one job. Yeah. So, Raymond, let's talk about. I want to start something. We're going to start something new on this Goldcast. Was who gets the game ball, and then who gets a punch in the balls, and the player that I thought deserved the nut shot. I was like, come on, man. He kind of punched the team in the balls. Was Rashad Robbins, man. God, he made some huge errors at some key moments. This guy, and he's been doing this since preseason. I don't know, man. I don't know how I feel about him. I want to know what you feel, Ray. What are your thoughts on Rashad Robinson?
I just feel like he's really just undisciplined. He's got great talent. He's got the potential to be a really good cover corner, but I just think he's really undisciplined. And I don't know if he's going to become as good as he could be. It's so hard. So outside of cornerback is the next difficult position to fill, and it's the second hardest position to play. So, it's if you get one Pro Bowl cornerback, you got to feel, any team in the NFL is going to feel pretty darn lucky. I mean, the Rams have one, Arizona has two, and they've gone through like three or four. The Niners had a couple, or had one back in the Harbaugh era, but we haven't had one since, and it's really hard to fill. So I don't know, and I don't know what Akello Witherspoon is doing in practices to stay, at the bottom of the depth chart. But, the only thing that's going to give him a shot at this point is injuries. But I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because sometimes he looks great, but I feel like majority of the time he doesn't. But it's a really difficult position to play. So I'm not making excuses for him. I'm just saying it's really tough. And so especially now with the rules favor offensive players more than they do defensive players. So you have to be so disciplined. Ray Armstrong's another one that kind of frustrates me, because he's extremely undisciplined, and he's been in the league for like 4 or 5 years now. That you would hope to see that someone with his experience would know better at this point, but you just don't see it. But that's the problem with the depth, right? Reuben Foster goes down, Ray Armstrong comes in, and while he's got decent speed to cover because he's a former defensive back, he's just very undisciplined, and he gets penalties. He makes boneheaded plays. Rashard Robinson does the same thing. Dante Johnson does the same thing. So the third tier of the defense is really bad. And Navarro Bowman, unfortunately, as much as I love him, he's clearly lost a step from that injury, and I'm not sure if he's going to recover, or if this is a thing where, we just need more games under his belt for him to kind of, get back to speed. But I don't expect him to ever have the speed that he used to have, not with the 2 injuries he sustained, which is unfortunate. So at this point, I'm just kind of waiting for Reuben Foster to get back in there to give us some more depth and skill tackling over there in the second tier of the defense.
Well, with Reuben Foster, I think what I'm hoping for, and I feel like you're probably hoping for the same thing, is that Reuben Foster gets back into the lineup, and that takes pressure off of Navarro Bowman and allows him to play like that old man linebacker game. Then he can use more of his brain and not have to rely on things that he's clearly lost, like speed, since the injuries. The thing that really worried me was at the end of the Seattle game last week when they were driving down, and this was for the touchdown, and Navarro Bowman missed this huge tackle right as they were crossing over the 50. Like they were somewhere between like the 50, their own like 50 and 40, and he just missed this huge tackle, and I thought, oh wow, man, I don't see that very often from Navarro Bowman. And it like I saw the jump, I saw the number, and I thought, I saw 53, and I thought, oh man, that's rough. Again, the undisciplinedness of the defense is a big deal, and it's something that needs to be addressed, because there were just a lot of mistakes on the 49ers side that I thought easily could have been rectified had they just played tighter football. And but you know what was interesting, and Louis, I want to pass it back to you. Wasn't it interesting to see both teams offensively just kind of airing it out left and right? This is what shocked me, is that the Rams for the longest time were defined by their defense. Both teams in the Harbaugh and I already what the hell is your coach's name again?
Sean McVay. He's the grandson of John McVay.
No, Jeff Fisher.
Jeff Fisher.
Oh,
No,
Jeff Fisher.
That's how
Fisher,
forgettable
Fisher.
Jeff Fisher is,
Yeah,
mind you. You already forgot his name.
You literally said his name 10 minutes ago. I've probably said his name 100 times on this podcast, and
still
boom,
forgot
I
it.
forgot. Jeff Fisher. Yeah, still forgot it. Both teams were really defined by their defenses, and the Niners have played really good D this entire season. But we talked about this before the game, that the thing that the reason, so Vegas set the odds at 39.5 points. That was the over-under, is where they set it this week. Louis and I were saying this is probably going to be a shootout. Defensively, these teams did not match up. Rams really struggled against the run, and with Eric Reed going down and Tart not being 100%, we were very vulnerable in our secondary. And both teams exploited the hell out of that. And by the second half, I mean, the defenses were practically non-existent. No one could stop anybody. And so that was really interesting. Louis, give me your thoughts on that.
Well, the thing is, I will say, just to get a little more shit talking in, because last season I wasn't able to do any of this because you guys swept us. So I will say, I don't know how well your defense has really played. You guys gave up 41 points to Jared Goff, but we'll move on. Don't worry. So I don't know why you guys.
Says the guy whose team almost gave the entire game away in like the last 3 minutes.
Stop it. We're not talking about that. Almost, baby.
You gave up
almost 41-26.
You gave up that whole
almost
lead.
Don't count the NFL. I don't know why the faithful wants me back. You guys got to boycott me. All right, so I will say, honestly, you guys have. I mean, you guys almost shut down the whole Seahawks offense week one, in Seattle. That's amazing. But I mean, the NFC West for the longest time was a defensive division. It was completely and utterly all defense. There was never offensive shootouts. I mean, our offensive shootouts was like 21-19. Like that was our version. It was always defense. So it's super exciting to watch two NFC West teams duke it out 41-39. Like that's a New Orleans, Atlanta game or something. That's not a game that you would see in the NFC West. So it was super cool to see that happened between us two. And again, I think it's a sign of times to come. I think that our division is kind of transferring not only to the Niners and Rams in the future, but I think it's transferring offensively. We both brought in offensive-minded guys that have strong playbooks and can make playmakers out of anyone. I mean, Pierre Garçon had a career day today. And I mean, that's Kyle Shanahan's doing, in my opinion. So not that Pierre Garçon isn't a great receiver. He made unbelievable catches. But, his offense is getting him in space. But it's just super exciting to see that, and I think that's a sign of times to come. The Rams have put up, 40-plus points in 2 of 3 games. We put up 20 last week against Washington. We put up 40 in 2 of 3. So, I think that you're going to see that a lot more, especially, I mean, the Rams do have a couple more weapons, but I think with the Niners, they showed tonight that what they can do, and that you guys are going to fight, man. I mean, 0-3 does suck, but I think you guys are going to fight. Just like last year, even you guys who were 2-14, you guys still fought in games. You guys couldn't count you guys out. You guys have that. So I think that's a good foundation to build on going forward. I think you guys have a good foundation, honestly.
I think so, but I think John Lynch and maybe Kyle Shanahan to a slightly lesser degree kind of expected this, because I mean John Lynch kind of looks at the roster and kind of knows John Lynch is such a straightforward dude who's like pretty logical and realistic about things. And I think he knew this because the one thing he said is like, hey, look, we got a ways to go, but the one thing I can promise is that we're going to compete. And even though I don't think you should make promises, because I think it's you get down a slippery slope pretty fast when you go down the promise road. But if there's one thing he has, fulfilled so far through 3 games, is that this team, with the exception of the Carolina game, more so in the second half though, but through 3 games, for the most part, this team has competed to the very end, and that is a step in the right direction. Especially these last 2 games, despite them both being losses, they were efforts that could have won us, more than double the games that we lost last year alone. So then that's saying something. So we are headed in the right direction. I'm totally agree with that.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. And I know Louis had a little bit of this happening against Washington. You've seen this before. We've seen this story before, where you get a new regime onto an NFL team, and that first year they lose a bunch of games, but the whole time they're frisky. And remember, I said that. I said Niners are going to be frisky. We're going to be frisky this year. We're still going to lose a bunch of games, but we're going to be frisky. And the Niners are really frisky. They're hard to shake. They don't give up. They play till the very end. And it's that first year vibe. And then next year when these two teams like blow it up, if we get a competent quarterback in there and get some better receivers, I think I will say this. I do want to give props. Who do you give the game ball to, Ray? I want to give props to Marquise Goodwin because he did step it up. He actually finally stepped it up and caught some goddamn footballs. But Raymond, who do you give the game ball to?
I'm going to give it into Hoyer for hanging in there despite an ugly start, and kind of carrying on from the previous 2 games. I'm going to give the ball to Brian Hoyer because he's played better than any of our quarterbacks the past 3 years. So I'm going to give it up there.
I agree, Brian Hoyer for sure. But you see this, and then in the next season, we get a good, competent quarterback, a couple better receivers. Niners could easily be fighting for first place, probably against most likely the Los Angeles Rams, with the Seahawks trying to scramble between the 2 of us and being the gnat in our backs. Possibly, we'll see. But this is the kind of season that you see. We've seen this before, and if you watch, if you like have Red Zone, and if you follow, I think if you follow fantasy, you've seen this story before, where a team, 2 teams in this case, are in a situation where they're really close and they're playing really competent, but there's just not enough experience and not quite enough talent on the roster to be competitive enough just yet. And we said this at the beginning, and I'm going to say it again. Goldcast Nation, 49er faithful, just keep having faith. Like it's trekking in the right direction. 0-3 sucks, but this is not the same 0-3 as it was. These 3 losses in a row, these are not the same kind of losses that we had this last season or the season before. And if anyone tells you that, screw them. They're an idiot. They don't know their 49er football. But if you're listening to this
probably
Goldcast,
a Raider fan if they're going to talk to you like
keep
that.
Listening.
Only Raider fans talk like that.
Right. Absolutely. Louis, any final thoughts? Fuck your Los Angeles Rams. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
You're damn right. I'll take that. I'm okay with that, baby. 2-1 feels mighty nice, and we're a much better 2-1 than we were last year.
Get ready for 2-2 though.
Get ready for 2-2. All right.
Hey, don't forget. Hey, Ray. Hey, Louis, hold on, real quick. Let's remember my hot take. What was my hot take when David Johnson went down? Ray, you guys all know what was my hot take, which we only touched on last week on air.
I don't know if I know it.
Dude, I was saying Los Angeles Rams are really in position. Los Angeles Rams are really in position to possibly
the Rams
end
are
up being
take second in the NFC West, and I couldn't agree more. Here's the thing. Raymond, after you said that actually makes a lot of sense because I totally forgot that we are playing Zeke next week, and we're not the Denver's defense. So Zeke's probably gonna feed on us. At the same time, Zeke played top 5 defenses last year, and he never got shut down for 9 yards before. Our rushing defense is terrible. I'm not saying that we're going to shut him down like Denver did, but I think that this whole off the field thing is really messing with Zeke, and I'm not as scared of the Cowboys as I was. I'm not saying that we're going to go out and put up 41 points on them, but just remember that Dallas's defense is not that serious. Trevor Siemian put up fucking 4 touchdowns against them, whatever he did. I think Goff's going to be okay.
Trevor's been balling out all year, though, man. If he keeps playing like that, then, good luck, New England.
Who is this?
Simeon's been playing like an all-pro.
Absolutely. No doubt he has. I don't doubt that at all. But at the same time, it's like I don't see why Goff couldn't go out against Dallas since we can throw up 3 touchdowns. So I'm not as afraid of Dallas as I would have been preseason. But I'm not saying. Look, again, I don't think we win more than 8 games this year. We haven't won 8 games since 2006. Trust me, my hopes are not that high. We're 2-1. They're as high as they can be. We beat the Niners. That's really all I can care about right now. What I notice is that as soon as the Niners lose, it's all about the dynasties. It's not about what's going on right now. So I like hearing that.
I start every episode that way, Louie. You've been gone for a while. I've start every episode. I've been out.
You've
just been gone for a while.
You're right. Faithful when you're right.
Yeah. If you were here for the last 3 months, I've been saying that fantastic intro. It's probably got us another 1,000 listeners, just that intro alone.
It's great. Faithful, I am sorry, man. By the way, I'm Faithful. I'm sorry, Faithful. I was in a flag football league that was Sunday night, so it was just terrible timing. But I'm completely your guys' the whole season going forward.
I think this season this is the 49ers Rams watch is what this podcast is going to really be about. The Goldcast is going to be our 2 teams just watching the future of the NFC West. This is really what it's about. This is why this was it was a big game. I'm super pissed we lost. Like, I'm not super pissed. I'm bummed. I'm bummed we lost, but I'm so happy that the 49ers fought till the final second. Thank God we did not just lay down and die. And thank God Brian Hoyer came back and made something, because if he'd have continued from that first quarter that way, Beathard would be starting by week 5. It'd be over. He at least bought. He
would have because I know he's better than that. I've seen him have really good games. I've seen him lead teams into the playoffs, although I think he only did that 1 year. But the point is, he's got some juice in him, and enough juice for Kyle Shanahan to believe in him. And when that type of offensive mind thinks you're competent enough to at least hold the mantle for 1 year at the very least, to carry the team, then that's saying something. At the same time, there wasn't a whole lot of options out there, so it's like, hey, this is probably the best option I've got. Plus, I kind of know him, so there's some familiarity there. Logical pick, but at the same time, this is more or less the Hoyer that I expected to see. I don't think we're going to get that every game, though. Not even close.
No, not at all. 49ers are heading to Arizona. I would love to preview that game, but I want to see what Arizona does this weekend, Ray. Like, let's see what he does this weekend. So we'll probably this will probably be the final episode till. Yeah. Well, this will probably be the final episode, and exactly. So we probably won't do another Goldcast till after the Cardinals game. Would you say that's probably how that's going to go down? Because we did 2 in this week, Ray?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Lewie B, before we go, where can they find you?
Stay online.
We got 49er faithful that want to talk shit to you. They want to message you on Twitter and talk a bunch of shit to you. Where do they find you?
Oh, please. I'll welcome it, baby. I'll welcome it with a bunch of gifts of Girly Man just crushing you guys in for the end zone. You can find me at actually Lewie B on all platforms.
Boom. Raymond, where can they find you?
You can find me at Twitter at Ray Solis and on Instagram at Ray Solis1.
Boom. And you can find me at Rudy Solis 3rd, Rudy Solis 3 Rudy Solis 3RD on Instagram and Twitter. So concludes another edition of the Goldcast. We are the voice of the faithful. I'm your host, Rudy Solis 3rd, and with me is my brother, my co-host,
Raymond Solis 1st, baby.
And our Los Angeles co-host,
Lewie B.
Boom. We'll see you next time. Same Goldcast time, same Goldcast chime.
You fucked it up.
The worst. Same Goldcast. I totally screwed that up. Same Goldcast time, same Goldcast channel.
This is
the Goldcast.